All right. So, this is going to be an episode for our podcast and YouTube stuff and stuff like that. I am here with Oscar Orcellet. I think that's about. Keep calling him Ocelot, which is not fair because he is not a small mammal.
It's a cool animal.
It's true. Maybe it's just spirit animal. We're just doing a little pre-tattoo session because tomorrow I'm going to be tattooing Oscar and make a plan on how to make these snakes go away. But while we're doing that, we're just going to chat a bit, and then tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more. But yeah, Oscar, you're guesting in my studio this week, which is really cool.
Yes.
Thank you for coming. First of all, where the fuck are you from?
I am from a small town in Argentina in the south. It's in the Patagonia region. It's really nice. Surrounded by mountains, a huge lake in there. I used to live in the coast of the lake, so my childhood was
Nice.
quite good.
So, in my head, when people say Argentina, I automatically think, oh, it's warm and humid and jungle-like, but that's not the case as far as I understood from you.
Yeah, Argentina is huge actually. You have all climates in there. But in the south, it's really cold.
You got penguins.
Yeah, we got penguins.
Yes. That's like, that was how I got my head around it. Glaciers and penguins.
Yeah.
Can't all be warm then. And currently you work in Mexico.
Yes, I had moved to Mexico in December last year, and it's like a transition phase because I want to do my own style, my own stuff, and right now in Mexico I'm working a little bit more commercial, but it's like 1 or 2 years of transition to to save some money to put my own stuff.
Are you gonna make your own studio?
Yes,
No.
that's the plan.
And are you gonna, so you work with Nordic tattooing?
Yeah, mostly.
Quite different than what I do, but at the same time, very much the same. Also fucking fast. I saw you tattoo yesterday, or the day before. It was mental. What got you into Nordic tattoos?
I first got into Celtic because, well, I was like at 14 or 15, I think. I started like playing some folk instruments, like a whistle, and that got me interested in, the culture and everything. But when I started tattooing, I fucking hated the Celtic knots and everything. They were so stressing. Yeah, I hated it. And when someone came and to ask me a tattoo of Celtic knots and everything, it was stressful. I tried to avoid it until one day I had to do like a big project, and I was looking for some style to do big pieces, because when I was an apprentice, I used to focus on some neo-traditional and small stuff, but I wanted to do sleeves, full bags, and I didn't quite got the idea to do something like that works, and also that can differentiate me from.
Make you stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, stand up. Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, so that was the first step down the path of Nordic tattooing?
Oh, I think a guy asked me to do maybe a horse with Celtic knots and everything, and I was like in a bad mood. I got the knots, man. And I went to the internet looking for some stuff, and I saw some designs. I think one was of Sean Parry, and the other one was of Sergei Celtic art logo.
Oh yeah.
Really cool stuff.
He makes really fucking
Yeah.
epic stuff.
He was a huge inspiration for me. When I saw that work, I started to understand how to do some stuff, and then I became obsessed with it.
It's funny that you started out by absolutely hating it.
Yeah. Because it's difficult. It's not something that, you know, tattooers enjoy to do if you're not in the style.
No.
It is stressful. It has a lot of rules that you have to follow.
I think it's funny though, because the moment that you start working with it, it becomes so fucking apparent how it works. Like by now in my head, it's just like it's a math thing: plus minus,
Yeah.
over under. It's always there. So for me, it's quite simple. But I can definitely see if you're not working with it on a daily basis, it would be a fucking shit show.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And it's also been, you know, like a heavily abused genre somehow, like the whole Celtic cross, and it's just in the 90s it was fucking cliche.
Yeah.
And everywhere. In the bad
little
way.
tattoos in here, like,
Yes.
it's so complicated. Yeah, it is. And yeah, once you're into it and know the plus minus that you're talking about, and you can from there you can expand a little bit. You can create your own stuff, always with that in mind. But,
So,
yeah.
sorry to interrupt. Are you into like the Nordic mythology and all the stories and legends? Is that something that like you enjoy?
Yeah, kind of, but
Yeah,
not that much actually.
It's more the art.
Yeah, it's the art. The art is awesome. I'm not interested in Vikings.
So you don't dress up and go into the forest and shout for
No.
Odin or anything.
No,
Good.
no. I love the culture. I'm a bit more interested in the Celtic culture, the gods and how they lived, and the art that they did. But yeah, Viking stuff is really attractive. You know, for TV shows and the aesthetic part of it. But I love the art. The art is awesome. That is the part that I got to it.
I have to agree. It is pretty awesome. Well, I mean, I've got a lot more questions, but I've got a curious one. See, you work with colour and soft shading and stuff like that, and you're really bloody good at it. Where do you intend to take your work? Because when I look at it, I see this insane potential. But I'm curious, like, what do you want to do with your Nordic artwork? What's your plan? Because you cover skin much faster than I do with the soft shading methods that you use and stuff like that, where I work with fiddly little bloody details and shit like that. But what's your goal? What is your like dream projects?
I love detail, but I'm not into it to do big pieces, because I like the big pieces to be seen from far away and to be readable. So I'm only into contrast. Right now I'm kind of investigating, all the time I'm investigating the 3D stuff and the texture, lately the color, but I don't like to use that much color.
Okay. Well, you do it really well. You've got these pop splashes of green and stuff like that look really
Yeah, but some people tell me, oh, you're good in color when they have the tattoo with me. I always wanted to do something in color, and you're really good with color. I don't think I am good in color at all. But I am good with the valors, you know, with the contrast. I only use color to create contrast. So either I use a really dark color or a really light color. I love there's a green that I use much because it is so light and it heals so well in the skin. And it looks so good with along with the black.
So it's more of an accident that you're working
Yeah.
with colour than anything else. What kind of
Yeah, it could have been any color, but I chose that one because of how light it is.
Right. Question regarding your tattoo. Is there anything that you'd like me to put into this tattoo in specific? Do you have any wishes? Because you've been quite just just go crazy on your messages to me on when we've been communicating, but I'm curious, is there any element that you specifically would like?
No.
No. That's very unhelpful, Oscar.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Just have fun.
So for the viewers out there, my main intentions is to design a piece that will work, that Oscar can. There's gonna need to be a lot of black, so we're gonna make one of Oscar's mates do a lot of black on him, because I'm on the other side of the fucking planet, and then we can add details and all that stuff as we go along when he comes back to Europe for more stabbing. So you say you're more into the Celtic stuff?
Yes.
Which is a huge fucking historical genre. What do you mean when you say Celtic stuff? This isn't a trick question or anything. Just curious.
I don't know. Mostly about the music and about their mythology. But it's so different because Celtic is so extensive, right?
Yeah, it's vast.
It's not the same in France that it is in Italy, that
No.
it's in Ireland.
No, a lot of people think that, there was the time of the Celts. It was like 100,000 fucking tribes all across Europe that did a million different things.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to just lump it all into one grouping.
Yeah. So, for example, I am interested in the Ogham alphabet
Mm-hmm.
and its origins.
Okay, super cool.
Yes, it's really cool. And it's so mysterious. It's like the druid stuff going on in there.
The whole druidic Celtic movement that had its rebirth, like, I don't know, 90 years ago or something like that, in England. It's a really funny thing. Not too far from here, there's a big stone circle, just like a druidic temple, but it's all newly built. I think it's maybe 50 years old. It's beautiful. It looks like something that's 2,000 years old, down near Nottingham. But there's nothing really ancient about it. But the intention with the place to create like a worship of nature is there. So it has a lot of purity when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's the main thing of all the the beliefs but a lot of the really true meaning of everything is lost. Also, it's really interesting that, for example, the Ogham was supposedly developed in Ireland and here in the island, right? Because Celtic tribes in here, I think they were not so much into war and into conflicts like the Celtic in the continent, right? They were surrounded by Romans and everything was a conflict in there.
Yeah, I mean there's more traces of warfare over here after the Roman conquest came to the British Isles. Because I mean they tried to impose an overall government on the Celtic tribes of the area, whereas before then any conflict that there would have been like very localized. Instead it just became this massive thing, and that must have had a hell of an impact on these islands.
Yeah, but that's it. The more peace you have in your community and your settlements, the more you can focus on things like art and things like music and things like are not, necessary to survive, but they are expressions of free human,
So you said you learned to play instruments.
Yeah.
Did you start playing music at a young age, or did you pick that up later in life? And what did you start with?
I start with a whistle. Whistle is so easy to play and it's really fun. You don't really need so much musical education to do cool stuff with.
I mean, my kid has an accordion.
Uh-huh.
I definitely think he should have some more musical education for that to be okay, because it's a torture instrument.
Yeah, yeah.
A musical instrument is fucked up.
Like the bagpipes.
I'm still in doubt about the bagpipes, like the standard Scottish bagpipes. When I see up in Scotland like an orchestra of like 10 people with bagpipes and drums and shit. I mean, it's impressive.
Yeah.
But it's also just a fuckload of weird noise. I'm not sure what I actually think about bagpipes.
Yeah, because I think the Scottish bagpipe was intended to be like a...
Fucking scary.
Yeah, scary.
Like that
an
big,
instrument.
like that big Celtic horn.
Yeah.
What's it called? One with that wolf head,
The
massive horns.
Carnix.
Yeah,
Carnix.
exactly.
Yeah, those are instruments to make noise, to make loud noise, so people know you are there. For example, the other pipe, the Irish, I think is I don't know, I can't quite remember the name, but it's so much more a musical instrument. It has like more scale and it's not that loud. We have different intentions about it.
Please people or scare the shit out of people, yeah. Quite different
Yeah.
intentions. Okay, so originally when we talked about this, about just blacking it out,
Yeah.
that would be a very large patch of just black. But my thought here is I can take these, well, it's two snakes with one body, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can take them and make a design that laps over it and becomes two knotwork snakes that we black them out and add white on top of them. So they end up with like white details, white scales, and
Yeah.
patterns up to around here, and then we have a different design coming down, like a god mask or something like that. So instead of just like a heavy block of black, you end up with some that will be very bold, a very sharp contrast.
Yeah, to use the spaces.
Yeah, I think that would work really well.
Yes.
It's not going to be easy, it's not going to be a walk in the park, but it'll work. So I'd like to do that. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm into it.
It's a great sketch I've made. It looks like utter shit. but I know what I'm intending. So, yeah?
Yes.
Yes. Cool. Well then, that is more or less it for today. We shall continue tomorrow. So, we're back. Day 2. Yesterday was just a sketchy day, trying to figure things out. Today's the real deal. You're gonna get stabbed.
I am.
I have more questions for you about your life. How did you become a tattoo artist? But I actually want to ask first, how did you start with creativity, drawing and stuff like that? Because you can draw. I mean, I've seen your tattoos. You can draw portraits and shit, which is a hell of a lot more than I can. So where did that come from?
I actually don't remember. Since I was a kid, I was drawing all day, and I used to be obsessed with dinosaurs. So I would keep drawing dinosaurs all day, and that's where I think I started drawing. But not about the drawing like in itself, not about the art, but the thematics. You know, I don't become obsessed with the art in itself, with the drawing itself by drawing, and I just
Really like dinosaurs.
really liked something. It was dinosaurs when I was a child, then it was like heavy metal covers, and then it's changing.
Nice.
all
One
the
of
time.
the first things I ever proper had to draw was like a copy of I think it was Faith No More.
Yeah.
that my brother asked me to draw. It was fucking brilliant. So difficult. Like heavy metal covers was just, it was one of the greatest sources of fantasy art when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's so weird. So
I mean,
do you still like dinosaurs?
Yeah, but then when I get to when I was 13, get to the high school, I think, I started drawing Eddie the mascot of Iron Maiden.
Yes.
That was a hell of a cover also. And
I've always thought that Eddie and their covers look like Iron Maiden is much more heavy metal than they actually are. It sounds like they should be doing sort of like doom, evil, screechy sounds.
Yeah, more evil, yeah.
But it's a lot more mellow.
Well, it happens a lot with bands. For example, Kiss, they look a lot more satanic than what they sound.
True.
But a lot, like. And yeah, that's about it. Then I think I started drawing comics. I was a huge fan of Spawn.
Ah,
Spawn.
fuck yes. I always loved McFarlane, both for his artwork, but also he was so aggressive and progressive, making a black anti-hero at the time that he did. It was super cool. Do you know why Spawn came into being, by the way?
No.
So McFarlane worked at Marvel, and he wanted to do an episode of Spider-Man where a black guy, a poor black man, is mugging a rich guy in an alley, and Spider-Man jumps down and saves the white dude from being mugged, from being robbed. And the white guy gets up and brushes himself off and says something about shitty black people, and he's super racist, and then Spider-Man slams him against the wall and goes, "Which color do you think I am beneath this mask?" And Marvel didn't want to print it. They thought that was too dangerous at the time. And McFarlane was like, I don't want to work with this shit. Like, if I can't be progressive and try to fight racism in comic books, what the fuck can I do? So he left Marvel and went out and started his own. Thank the fucking gods, because I mean, Spawn, that whole universe that he's worked with, it's good. I was really into Witchblade and
Witchblade.
Darkness as well. Like the style was so
incredible
cool.
art. I think a lot of tattoo artists are heavily inspired in that kind of things, because it was in the time it was one of the only sources of that kind of art that we had, I think.
Yeah.
That it's kind of rotten, heavily detailed, evil stuff, right?
It's very much the tribal art of comic books.
Yeah.
Like neo-tribal of comic books.
Yeah.
It's fucking beautiful.
And the shapes were beautiful.
Yeah.
Most of Witchblade was incredible.
I felt that there was a very different understanding of form language in those comics than there was in Marvel and DC. Like they really pushed some limits and forced the rest of the mainstream comic world to get out of.
Well, Spawn beyond the progressive, that which also is not noticeable because you don't get to notice that Spawn is a black man for some reason, and you just don't care. It's just so cool. That's the way progressive should be, right?
Yeah,
I think.
It shouldn't be important if he's black or white. There should just be like equal basis to it.
It's like you just don't care. It's a detail. Yeah.
You're just not there yet. Sadly.
Yeah. And I forgot my point.
Okay, so how did you then go from there to become a tattooist? You knew how to draw.
Yeah, I had the chance many times before, and I was avoiding it because of the high responsibility and everything. So I had a lot of chances, many friends that came and said, "Hey, you should tattoo," and I was like, "Nah." I wanted to be like a comic artist or an illustrator at first. But then I think when I was 28, I started like late. A friend of mine came with the full set, you know, the briefcase with the Chinese machines and everything.
Kit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said like, "Hey, this is for you. Will you have to tattoo me?" So I had no chance. So I started. Did some shitty tattoos on him, but he was really happy. And then I thought, yeah, this might be a thing.
It's funny that you can make people happy even with shitty tattoos, isn't it? I mean, I started my career in the same way. I started quite late, and the first work that I did was fucking horrible.
What was it?
I mean, I've done fucking dot work, Disney goldfish and shit like that, and tried to do roses and all these things. And I started in 2009. So it's about, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago. I don't know, what year is this? It's 23. I don't know. But I've not been tattooing for that long, and I was in my late 20s when I started. But to me it was a necessity. Like I needed to do something new with my life, or I would be fucked and just working a till somewhere instead.
Yeah. But the Viking and Celtic stuff was always a thing for you?
I mean, I've always loved the whole Viking Age thing. I grew up with the Valhalla comic book and stuff like that. And when I started tattooing, I was already doing Viking Age reenactment. So it was quite natural for friends to be like, "Hey, could you do a Thor's hammer on me?" And I'd be like, "Okay, sure, yeah, why not?" And it just really quickly just became what I did, because people wanted dot work and people wanted Viking tattoos, and I'm really good at adapting to form language. So picking up the style of Nordic ornaments was easy for me. Like very easy. It's I mean, I had lots to learn, and I've become much better at it as the years have gone by, no doubt about it. But I think because I've seen the artifacts and like known the runes since I was in school and shit like that, it was never an issue picking up on it and using it for tattooing.
Yeah.
So when you started tattooing, did you just tattoo from home? Did you get a job at a studio? How was your...
Yeah, only from home for like a year or something like that. I was tattooing only the weekends because I have another job. And once... I think when I really started was... I lived in this small town, and I had a band, a death metal band in there.
Cool.
So we recorded, and I had to do the mixing with the guy of the sound and everything, and he lived in a big city, so I had to travel there. And he was like, "Oh, so you're a tattooer, right? My best friend is a tattooer, so I will get you to the shop so you meet him." So we did that, and that's how I met my friend Bruno. He was the owner of the shop, and he saw my work, mostly my drawings, and he said, "Yeah, come work with me."
Cool.
So I moved, and I was like in a year of apprenticeship, just trying to find my way in the tattoo, because it's funny, but the most you draw and create everything like illustration and comic books, and the more you are into it, the more difficult it is to transform that into the language of that. It's like a start from scratch again.
Yeah, there's a whole thing about learning to understand
Yeah.
what works as a tattoo is definitely not what works on a piece of paper.
Yeah, not at all. So that was like to be like a year to actually can be able to do on the skin what I can do on the paper. And yeah, that was fun.
You know, I still see tattoo artists who don't understand like that you can't do the same shit. Like they still tattoo what they can draw onto skin, and it'll last for 5 years, and then it's a shitty tattoo. It's just I don't understand it.
Yeah, I realized that, and that's how I wanted to do big pieces to last.
Yeah, lots of skin contrast helps a lot.
Yeah. Because my first works that I did before being in an actual studio, like they didn't heal well. Like you say, too much detail in one small zone, and you lost everything.
I assume you kept working with your Chinese shitty tattoo kit as well.
Yeah, for a time. Then I got some good stuff.
It really doesn't help working with shitty needles and bad inks.
No.
I remember when I started out with, it wasn't shit, but it was old school stuff, like a wonky Mickey Sharps machine that sounded like 15 hornets in a glass jar. And it was a very sturdy machine, but it wasn't precise. Like it didn't want to be precise, even no matter how much I tuned it. And the colors I used, I think it was Star Bright or something like that. And at the time, they were a well-established brand. But compared to other brands that had already started excelling in pigment research and all these things, they were shit. So the tattoos I did with it, they were not something that lasted for long. I mean, they lasted, but not nicely.
Yeah, that's something that we had to deal at that time, and sometimes you have to struggle a lot because you think you're shit, and actually the things that you're using are shit.
Yep.
You cannot always, see the difference. So today is so much easier that everything is, the new machines, the new stuff is like, if you're a good drawer, if you design well, you're an apprenticeship like 1 year, and then you get to do so cool tattoos.
Yeah, no one has to learn how to solder needles or...
Yeah, you don't have to deal with all that. It's like so simple now.
Yeah. It's almost cheating.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think that the ease of use has made so many great tattoo artists that wouldn't have come about otherwise. They would not have become tattoo artists if it weren't for the fact that it's now so fucking easy. And there's so many people who started out straight from like art college or whatever, they knew how to draw and paint, they bought a kit and then they just started, and they had a chance to actually do something good with it, and they've now become great tattoo artists. They would never have had that chance if they had to work with wonky homemade shitty machines or an old Sharps or whatever the fuck. Like, I remember struggling so much to get good line work. And it was mainly because I didn't have a good machine. It just made it so fucking hard.
Yes. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I think we became tattooers in that time because somehow we were hard workers.
Yeah, I mean, it helped me. Having work ethics was definitely a great assist.
For me, it was incredible because I thought in any other like job or I don't know, regular working, I was like so lazy, so bad about it. And when I started tattooing, I discovered that I can, tattoo for 12 hours in a row and not get tired. So that wasn't the problem.
Yeah, that's
It was just the wrong focusing.
Massive difference that makes. I do see a lot of people who are like they're artists, they love their art, and then they become tattoo artists, but they shouldn't have become tattoo artists because what they had a passion for all of a sudden becomes their job, and they're not able to adapt and accept that what they were once only passionate about is now their livelihood.
Yeah.
And it's hard for them, which is a shame.
Yeah, you have to be careful with that. If you start like with that passion and you get a job in a commercial tattoo shop and you suddenly have to do a lot of shit,
Yeah.
you get tired. You just want a day off and get away from the machines and everything, and that's not good.
Well, definitely, usually not the way that it works in a tattoo shop.
Mm.
Makes me sound old, but kids these days have it too easy.
Yeah, but they are, yeah. Two Old Tattooers podcast.
It's a theme. There's a really good podcast named Books Closed. He's a relatively young tattoo artist. I think he's worked for like 8 years or something like that. But he knows a lot of people who are like old schoolers in the industry, and he goes around interviewing them. I think he's somewhere up in like upstate New York. But he travels out to these guys and talks to them, and like they're amazing, venerable tattoo artists. But it's a lot of like, in my day,
Yeah.
young people, they don't know. And sometimes he interviews like, the young superstar tattoo artists, and it's fucking hilarious to listen to these people about like, yeah, and then I just do whatever the fuck I want, and I'm just always on drugs. Okay, you should not be tattooing people. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, it's the one in Spanish. I don't know the name of it. It's more like an interview than a podcast, but also the interview is not very good. Not so good questions, but the tattooers invited are so interesting. Mostly the guys the guys of the area of Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if you know, there is one that's called Mocho that does a lot of black work.
Yeah, I know who it is.
Also, well, Fred Tattoo, he does like realism, and those are like old school guys. Like they have our age and they started like at 17 or something like that. Also, their parents were tattoo artists, so they are so into it, and they are like truly artists. They don't do anything commercial. Well, for example, Mocho, he does like huge pieces with some patterns, so weird. He has like a form that I think he gives to their clients, that they accept everything he was going to do on their skin.
Oh God.
Yeah.
See, I'm not a big fan of that. I like people to have, or to give me just some input. I know I can have a hell of a lot of freedom. We get a lot of emails from people who's like, oh, just do whatever you want on me. I'm like, well, I like to do a lot of black and very heavy things. Then they're like, oh, that's maybe not what I want. Yeah, no. So I always prefer to get people to just send me like 10 keywords and 10 images of inspiration, maybe 5 to 10 keywords, 5 to 10 images, just so I have like some bearings on where the fuck people want to go. I don't want like 7 pages of their life story explaining why they want
Yeah, just a hint.
all these things. Like I need a direction, and that's all. Then I'm happy. But just using people as my canvas, I don't think I could do that. With like full freedom, seems a bit aggressive. So this is your first time doing like guesting outside of South America?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll be guessing I'll be in a few countries. I'll be in Chile and in Peru, and that's it. I'll travel to Mexico and stay there.
So if one were to travel to South America, because I've never been to South America, where would you recommend that one should go? What's like your favorite place?
Depends. Where I always wanted to be in Peru because of the historic stuff that they have in there, Machu Picchu and everything. So interesting things they have in there. I didn't get to go when I was there. I was like a week, but I came with COVID, so I had to stay in the hotel for the whole time.
Oh, that's shit.
Then I had to leave. But yeah, next time I would travel. And Mexico is so good, also.
Mexico has a really bad rep. Like whenever you mention Mexico, everyone's like, "Oh, don't get kidnapped. There's drug cartels."
Nah, it's not like that.
Try not to steal drugs then.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Yeah, if you're not into, all the people like they manage like territories, and if you go and fucked up with them, like you start buying shit from them. If you're not into that, you're perfectly fine. I think it's even more secure in the streets. Except for the police.
I assume you can bribe the police.
Yeah. But yeah, in Argentina you should go to Argentina. It's so good. Just a lot of stuff to do in there.
Yeah, I think I would love the nature there.
I really love my country. But you cannot live in there right now. I mean, you can, but you can only survive in there right now. But I hope it gets better. There will be a little magic symbol in there.
Yeah, I think I'm going to put something focusing on creativity.
Great.
Something like that for you.
That's why I get my logos in there. It's the god of creativity and artists, and commercials and jobs and everything that makes you move. So I needed it.
So do you find it hard being a tattoo artist? That's a fun question. Like the whole process of building a career and all these things nowadays versus when you first started out.
Nowadays you just have to focus on the media, right? I think if you want to do things, well, like you get to do things that you love and you are good at. But if you do not like promote yourself and you don't show your work and what you like, what you're good at, just start like having it like a job, like we were talking.
Yeah, it becomes a bit of a chore. I think social media has done much good for some people, but it's also ruined a hell of a lot for others.
Yeah.
Because it's forcing everyone to become content creators.
Yes. It's a change. There are always changes. And
Turn your back to me.
Before they were like the tattoo magazines, right?
Yeah.
And the conventions were different also.
Yeah, you were dependent on being featured and going to conventions and doing things like that, and that's gone.
There was a huge tattoo artist in the city that I live in now, that I was living when I was in Argentina, and he was like really good in the 90s. He got to travel, established in Germany and some places like that, became really famous. And he was like that. Only started with mouth to mouth and doing big pieces like full backs and full arms, and with like an artistic view. And yeah, it was. I don't know how he did. Like today will be so different.
Yeah, I was really lucky when I started tattooing. I was already on the internet with my special effects stuff that I used to do for a living.
Yeah.
So I had like a social media profile on DeviantArt and similar stuff, and that gave me a leg up. But I couldn't imagine. It's trippy. I couldn't imagine trying to build up a career now, like as a tattoo artist from scratch. That would be fucking hell.
Also, there are so many right now.
Yes, it's a very, very saturated market.
You have to really stand out, like doing some different shit to get to be known, right? But that's cool also.
Well, it does. It's one of the things that happened at around COVID as well. Like it did kill off a lot of people who were quite shit tattoo artists. Because all of a sudden, like you couldn't make a living unless you were really fucking good, and people would go to like the full effort of getting tattooed by you because they really wanted your work and all that.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden getting tattooed was like dangerous again. Because you might get COVID. Weird shit.
Yeah, the lockdown was so odd because I thought, the logic is when you're working in tattooing, the logic is tattoo is the last thing that people needs when there's a thing like that.
Yeah.
So I thought I was right. That's it. I will not work. But then people was like at home and the cinemas were closed, the restaurants were closed, everything was closed, and they had money and they nothing to do, so they go get tattooed.
Yeah, it's true. I still had.
I think I never tattooed that much before or after, like in the lockdown.
Did you get COVID from it?
Yes. No, not from tattooing, but yes, I got it really bad. But it was fun.
So, what's your next step in your career/life plans? Do you plan to travel loads, or you mentioned yesterday that you're intending to make your own studio?
Yes, I would really like to make my own studio at my country. Right now it's quite difficult, but
You want to do it in Argentina?
yes.
Ooh.
but I think that will have to wait. And I don't know. In the meantime, I'm just saving money to have the freedom to do like a project. But yeah, I would travel. Mostly for escaping the summer in Mexico that is fucking hell. Yeah, I cannot breathe. So hot in there right now. But yeah, I always wanted to travel.
I think you could turn a pretty good trick with the Nordic and Celtic tattooing and stuff like that. If you manage to build up the right fame, because there's a lot of people going to Argentina to experience Patagonia and travel around in nature. And if you manage to catch that crowd so that people on their way from their trekking adventures on the way home stop by your place to get like historical tattoos, I think that would be a good crowd.
Yeah, I think so. But at the same time, Argentina is so far away from everything. It's
true. It is fucking
it's
far
like
away.
a huge travel to there.